Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Jackie Brown. Jackie is best known for her long history of commitment to the profession and CPAs in Maryland, having joined MACPA staff in July of 1980. Since then, she has provided management oversight in almost every functional area of the association, including public relations, professional development, membership, marketing, committees, and chapters. She's assumed a new position as CEO in 2021, responsible for leading MACPA's team, as well as serving as the liaison to the board of directors and several of its appointed task force. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Jackie Brown.
Thanks, Ed Kless.
Well, first, Jackie, why do you do what you do?
Thinking about that question, it reminded me of a podcast that we did, our first podcast with Tom Peters. And he was talking to our Chief Communications Officer, Bill Sheridan, and talking about CPAs. And Tom Peters said, CPAs are, damn it, they are not number crunchers. They are professionals in a helping business, helping businesses and individuals think about their world. That's what Tom Peters said. So why I do what I do, it's going to sound really hokey, but I care about CPAs. I spent 40 years of my life working with and for CPAs. And I remember we were updating our website. This was a couple of years ago, and we were with our marketing people, and we were talking about all the things MACPA does and the value, that we provide for CPAs. And the creative director kept saying, and why, and why, and why. And we got to the end of it. We care about CPAs. That's why. And I guess that's why I do what I do too, and have for 40 years, because I care about CPAs.
Which is great. And we probably should tell our audience that MACPA is the Maryland Association of CPAs.
It is.
It's very well known, MACPA, to both you and I, although I love the fact that you stole MA from Massachusetts. They have to use a different number. But I do want to say this, that, and I've said this a number of occasions. In fact, I said this yesterday to someone when I was talking to them. I said, there's the Maryland Society of CPAs, and then there's everybody else. That's just the way it is. And you have assumed the new role of CEO with Tom Hood having moved on to the AICPA. So What's new on the horizon for MACPA?
So, we spent some time. I have an amazing leadership team, both, our staff team, our board of directors, and colleagues like you, people I know all over the country. And so that's where Tom's a thought leader. And he was always the visionary, and I was always kind of the executor. So sans Tom, we got together and said, so what do we want MACPA to look like? And we did this really cool exercise of what do we want to be, do, create, experience, and have. And we created a story of what we want MACPA to look like in 2024. So we've said 3 years out. Has a lot to do with communities. It has a lot to do with connecting members in meaningful ways with thought leaderships like Sage, and with each other and with other of our preferred providers, and increasing in the engagement of our members. This past year was hard. That goes like that, duh. But how we can re-engage with our members, we were in a mode of survive and provide resources, week to week. We had calls with our members, and now we want to get them back focused on the future that we couldn't have predicted, a pandemic, right? So we navigated through that, and now we really want to look ahead and see what are the things that we can continue to do to continue to keep our members future ready, relevant, and provide the resources and things they need. And it's turning into a really cool story. I got to pull up this graph so I can look at it. We created a visual for it, and I'm not going to be able to do it. Darn it. Hold on. It's a promise graphic. So it's really, our commitment. It's all about community, resources, professional development, and advocacy. And our purpose is leading and transforming our profession, Maryland first, and making a positive impact. We connect, protect, and help a CPA-led profession achieve success. So we're reimagining how we do that and how we refocus on our members. That's the short story.
So let's talk a little bit in the shorter term as we seem to be coming out of COVID. What are you hearing from your members with regard to getting back to potentially in-person meetings? I mean, I think we're a long way off from going back to where we were in 2019.
Yeah.
But how do you think this transition phase is going to play itself out?
It's really interesting. So I was on a call earlier this week with actually the Big Four in Maryland. And they were all asking each other, like, when are they going to get back in the office? And it's not going to be soon. Everybody has proved that this work from home thing really works, right? And people can be really productive. But when it comes to events and, when CPAs are going to start coming together in person live, we're trying to figure that out. Like, we're in the middle of budgeting right now. And as we, CPAs that want to fly to an AI CPA conference in Las Vegas is going to be very different than CPAs that want to get back in their car and drive around the Beltway and get to a hotel to sit in a room together. So we're figuring that out. And, even our executive committee, our board said, we're just going to have to make guesses. We're going to have to make an assumption, but we're starting to do polling. Starting to see that people are maybe like 30% want to go and be in a room together, socially distanced and all that good stuff. And maybe 70% want to continue to go online. I think it's going to be based on the content and the event and where the networking in person is more important than the content that maybe they're being presented.
And that's really the thing that, as I see it too. I mean, yes, of course, you and I like to think that people come to our conferences because of the absolutely fantastic content that we provide, the stellar, right, without question. But if you ask them in their heart of hearts over and over again, they'll say, yeah, I got some value from the content, but what I really got value out of was talking with other people or the interactions that we had even in the hallway or at dinner or whatever. And that's what we've really lost. And there's no way to measure that, right? There's in a profession obsessed with measurement, that's something that we're never going to know what the loss was from that. Yeah. And certainly, I think there's going to be some time that it's going to take for us to gain some of that momentum back.
Yeah. Yeah. And whether the pendulum will swing the whole way back again or not, ever. I just don't, some things aren't going to go back. And I think this is the year of figuring it out.
Yeah. And there's I think there's certain something to be said for back to the office. A lot of the high tech companies even are doubling down on office space and bringing people back together, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. But we're also hearing a lot of people, and I've had a couple on the show who are talking about we're going to go full time to even results only work environment, which I think is great. Yeah. So, well, is that what you're hearing from members too? Pretty disparate?
Very disparate. Yep. Yep. I think but for the most part, people they want people to be comfortable. And so it's going to be when you're ready, come into the office. I don't plan on saying to our team, okay, July 1st or September 1st or whatever it is, everybody needs to be back in the office. I think it'll just be sort of organic. I think people will start coming back and they'll see, Skip's going to be in the office. Jackie's going to be in the office. I think I'll go in the office today. And then the next day, maybe they won't. And I think that's.
My gut is kind of telling me that we're going to get through the summer. And then once we swing into the fall of next year and when the kids do go back to school, probably more in earnest in a lot more places in the country, then say, maybe we'll wander back into the office.
Yeah. See what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Well, Jackie, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Okay. So I think about heroes and I think about the definition of heroes. And so the first person that comes up for me in my life is Christ, Jesus. So I don't think there's anybody who ever showed greater commitment to a cause or has greater integrity or has done more for others or made a bigger difference. So, to me, that comes first. But after that, I'd have to say my dad. He cared about people too. He modeled that for me. Actually have a plaque hanging on my wall that he got at his retirement. He's passed away now, but has a quote from George Sheehan, and it says, "Success is the knowledge that you've become yourself, that the person you were meant to be." And that's what he did, and cared about people. And I actually added a little sticky note to that. This past May, I was on a call with, I was on the AICPA Women's Initiatives Executive Committee for 3 years, had the privilege of being on that committee. And we were on a call last May, of course, in the height of COVID, and making some pretty excruciating decisions about our team and sharing that with people on the committee. And I got a little emotional. I'm also a crier. And Jim Wallace was on that call. Jim is the CEO of BPM. And he got very quiet, and he, of course, Zoom, he kind of leaned in and he said, "My dad told me something I've never forgotten." He said, "When you stop caring about people, you need to find a new job." And I wrote that down and I hung it on that plaque. And that's why my dad was my hero. He showed me how to care about people, and no better place to work than a profession that is about helping people. So I get to help people help people.
And lastly, Jackie, how can somebody contact you?
I'd love for people to reach out. Email is great, Jackie@macpa.org, or direct dial number is 443-632-2300.
All right, Jackie Brown, relatively newly minted CEO of the Maryland Maryland Association of CPAs. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thank you, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.